Hello again. Well, I think I can read your mind at this point. You very happily registered for this course, and then when you read the syllabus, you see there are several papers that need to be written for this course, and you're asking yourself, why did I register for this course? And you're thinking about dropping it, but don't do that. Don't panic. Um, Even if you're not a history major, especially if you're not a history major, don't worry about it. Actually, writing the papers for this course could be a fun learning experience for you if you approach it with the proper attitude, which I hope you will. There are two paper assignments for this course. There's a midterm paper of 4 to 5 pages in length. I'm not a stickler on page numbers, but I will stop reading after about page 8. So if you write a 20 pager, I'm only grading the first 8 pages. So keep that in mind because I got a lot of papers to read here. But we're asking for a paper of about 4 to 5 pages for the midterm, and the subject matter will be explained in a document later this week. In case you want to get an early start on that. The other paper that needs to be written is a primary source review. Primary sources are firsthand accounts, usually for us who don't speak fluent ancient Chinese and ancient Korean languages. That means they are translations of primary sources that are often published in other people's books. And that still counts as a primary source for our purposes. So I'll be giving more information later this week about that as well. You will sign up for a particular primary source, and then you're basically just going to write a basic review: who, what, when, where, why, how. It would be nice if you cited a couple of other sources in addition to your primary source that you're reviewing, just showing that you studied up on it a little bit for that paper. But it's pretty easy. And again, that's a 2 to 3 pager. I stopped reading at page 5. So please don't write more than that. So I'm going to provide those guidelines on those two papers later this week. But the first thing I want to talk to you about is how to write papers for me, because that's always the question, isn't it? Every time you have a class, what does this professor want from me? Well, I'm going to tell you. And hopefully the way you write papers for me could also be helpful for you in future classes and maybe even getting published in some of your research that you do, whether it's for this class or a different class. First of all, for the papers, I would very much advise you to write using 1-inch margins on your pages, 1 inch, top, bottom, left, right, 1 inch, 12-point Times New Roman text. So there is a standard. So I know the length is the same for everybody. 1.5 spaces. I don't think for my papers coming up with enough material will be a problem. I think you'll have more than enough, and the problem will be getting it into the small size of page numbers that I've requested that you do. If you use different margins, different size text, or a different font, or different spacing, I will send it back to you and just ask you to do it again with the requirements that I've sent to you. So save yourself some time and do it this way the first time. 1-inch margins, 12-point Times New Roman, 1.5 spaces. Also, send it to me in a Word compatible format. That's a WPD, WPDX, something that can be edited in Word. If you use a different program, if you're one of these I people, or you use some other font, you do it on Google, Docs, whatever, that is fine. But you must convert it to a Word format before turning it in. Again, if you send it in a different format, I will return it directly to you and request that you put it into Word format for my editing and corrections to be sent back to you. In terms of style, I'm going to ask that you use Chicago style. Don't panic. This is a standard format for publishing in the humanities, especially business, history, arts and sciences, sociology, uses ASA, but ASA is based on Chicago. So, they're very closely related. It's also a very simple format. It's the standard for publishing, as I said. So if you can master Chicago, you're ready to get published in the humanities. So that's a good thing for your future. In the module for this week, you will find a 4-page summary of the Chicago Manual of Style. You don't have to buy a Chicago manual. The 4-page summary should be plenty. You will see that it will tell you how to do the note at the bottom of the page and how to do the bibliography note on the resource for the different styles of web pages and multiple authors, editors, etc., etc. The 4-page summary should be all that you need for this class, unless for other reasons you either have a Chicago Manual of Style or you wish to purchase a Chicago Manual of Style, but that's totally up to you for your own major, for your own concerns. You will also see in the module for this week a PDF copy of an article that I published in Korea. It is 30 pages long, so I don't expect you to read it and regurgitate it to me, but I am providing it to you as an example of Chicago style in action, so to speak. So just notice the style of notation at the bottoms of the pages. Notice the style of notation in the bibliography, and notice how I cited primary sources, usually inside other published works, versus secondary sources. And you may notice that sometimes in some of the notes at the bottom of the pages, I argue with the authors and I disagree with some of the things that they say. And that is perfectly legitimate. You don't have to agree with the person you're quoting. If you disagree, you need to make that clear either in your paper, in the course of your paper, or in a footnote at the bottom of the page as an informational note. So I hope this is helpful to you, and I hope this will reduce your stress level a little bit. I will also send this in a written announcement in the course announcements, so that you'll have a written form of all the things that I've just said, so that you don't have to write it all down and memorize it. But the main point is I'm hoping this will be a fun learning experience for you doing these papers. Especially, I hope it will help you learn the Chicago style that hopefully would be of service to you later in your academic career. So thanks so much, and I look forward to reading your papers. Be on the lookout for the information related to the midterm paper and the primary source review coming out later this week. Thanks so much.